Imagine this. Two of history's greatest military minds step onto an ancient battlefield. Dust swirling, eyes locked, and armies thundering behind them. One wears furs, the other a bicorn hat. One commands warriors on horseback, the other wields cannons like chess pieces. Who wins? It's a showdown for the ages. Grab your helmet or your favorite snack, because we're about to embark on a time-traveling duel between Genghis Khan, the scourge of the steppes, and Napoleon Bonaparte, the brilliant brain behind an empire that rattled Europe to its core. Meet the contenders. First, let's meet Genghis Khan, the man who said, "Why settle for a backyard when you can own half the known world?" Born as Temujin around 1162 on the harsh Mongolian steppes, Genghis rose from a life of betrayal, hardship, and exile. He forged alliances with blood and trust, creating a brotherhood of warriors more loyal than any king's court. By the time of his death in 1227, his empire covered nearly 9 million square miles, an unprecedented feat. Plus, he introduced a meritocratic system. Promotions in his army were based on talent, not noble birth, a revolutionary idea back then. On the other side of the arena stands Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who turned being the short guy into a global phenomenon. Born in Corsica in 1769, he climbed the ranks of the French army during the chaos of the Revolution. By age 35, he crowned himself emperor because when you're that good, why wait for a committee? His Napoleonic code reshaped legal systems worldwide, and his Grande Armée was considered the finest fighting force of its era. If charisma were a weapon, Napoleon could have conquered Mars too. Two men, two empires, one hypothetical battlefield. But who would come out on top? Let's break it down. The art of war. Whose strategy reigns supreme? War is chess with real consequences, and both Genghis and Napoleon were grandmasters. Genghis Khan didn't just fight battles. He waged psychological warfare long before it was trendy. His military campaigns left trails of devastation, but his real genius was making people surrender before he even arrived. Entire cities would capitulate just hearing his armies were nearby. His use of feigned retreats, pretending to flee only to lure enemies into deadly ambushes, was a tactic feared across Eurasia. Plus, he organized his military into units of tens, hundreds, and thousands, creating a highly flexible and modular army, the original startup model, but with more arrows. Meanwhile, Napoleon had his own flavor of genius. His key moves? Artillery dominance and divide-and-conquer tactics. He mastered the art of moving quickly, striking hard, and keeping opponents guessing. In battles like Austerlitz, 1805, he lured the Russians and Austrians into vulnerable positions, then annihilated them with precision strikes. Napoleon's ability to coordinate large-scale movements across wide areas set him apart from previous European generals, who often moved at a snail's pace. His armies weren't just bigger, they were smarter and faster. Both men approach warfare from different angles, but when it comes to innovation and pure psychological manipulation, Genghis Khan edges ahead, making people lose the will to fight before the swords even clashed. That's next level. Brain power and brawn. Great leaders win battles with their brains and their biceps, or more accurately, the biceps of thousands of loyal soldiers. Genghis Khan's genius lay not only in battlefield tactics, but also in his diplomatic and espionage skills. He would often send envoys disguised as merchants or travelers into enemy territory to collect intelligence long before hostilities began. His use of multi-ethnic advisors and spies gave him a detailed understanding of distant lands, a medieval CIA, if you will. His warriors, trained from age 3 to ride horses and fire arrows, were so skilled that it's said they could shoot accurately while hanging upside down from a galloping horse. Talk about trick shots. Napoleon, on the other hand, excelled in logistics, the true engine of any army. He innovated the practice of living off the land, reducing reliance on long supply chains that could be cut off. His campaigns often moved faster than enemy scouts could report. For example, during the Italian campaign, 1796 to 1797, Napoleon's army covered incredible distances rapidly, defeating Austrian forces before they could regroup. His emphasis on flexibility meant even large armies operated with the agility of much smaller forces, a deadly combination when backed by cannon fire. When it comes to raw operational brilliance, Napoleon takes this round. His ability to mobilize and sustain armies with incredible speed gave him a sharp edge, even against numerically superior foes. Innovation, adaptability, and ruthlessness. Here's where things get spicy. Genghis Khan was a pioneer of military flexibility. After facing Chinese fortifications, he quickly adapted by recruiting Persian siege engineers, a move that made Mongol armies just as deadly in city sieges as they were in open fields. He embraced innovation with zero ego. If a tactic worked, he adopted it, regardless of where it came from. His tolerance for religious diversity also fostered loyalty across his vast empire, from Muslims to Christians to Buddhists. Yet his ruthlessness was legendary. Entire cities like Nishapur were wiped off the map if they resisted. No one ever said empire building was for the faint of heart. Napoleon, for all his brilliance, sometimes let ambition cloud his judgment. His Russian campaign of 1812 is a prime example, an invasion that began with 600,000 men and ended with fewer than 100,000 survivors. He underestimated both the brutal Russian winter and the scorched earth tactics that left his army starving and freezing. Despite occasional flashes of adaptability, Napoleon often preferred to double down on strategies rather than switch gears mid-battle. When it comes to sheer flexibility and a willingness to change tactics in the heat of the moment, Genghis Khan again has the edge. He played chess while others were still learning checkers. Weapons of choice, horse archery versus heavy artillery. Weapons aren't everything in battle, but they sure help. The Mongol composite bow was an engineering marvel, a laminated weapon made from wood, horn, and sinew that could shoot arrows accurately over distances exceeding 300 meters. Mongol archers practiced shooting from every conceivable angle, turning their cavalry into a moving wall of death. During the Mongol invasion of Europe, knights clad in heavy armor found themselves helpless against the speed and range of Mongol archers. Napoleon's artillery, however, redefined battlefield destruction. His use of mobile, light cannons that could be rapidly repositioned during battle changed warfare forever. At the Battle of Friedland, 1807, concentrated French artillery barrages decimated Russian forces in minutes. Cannons could shatter enemy formations with brutal efficiency, but they were heavy, cumbersome, and much harder to maneuver over rough terrain. However, Mongol armies were incredibly mobile, covering up to 100 miles a day, and could easily outflank slower artillery units. If Genghis could keep the fight moving and avoid direct confrontations, his horse archers could dismantle Napoleon's forces piece by piece. Who would win the ultimate showdown? Let's be honest. There's no denying both Genghis Khan and Napoleon Bonaparte were absolute titans of history. Each had a unique approach to leadership, strategy, and battle. If you pitted them against each other in a video game, it would probably end in a double knockout, with everyone rage-quitting the server. Yet when the dust settles and the historians and the meme creators have their say, Genghis Khan probably holds the edge. Why? Because Genghis didn't just win battles. He crushed entire civilizations into submission. His psychological warfare, incredible adaptability, superior mobility, and devastating horse archery make him an even tougher opponent in open battlefields. Napoleon's artillery would certainly wreak havoc, but it's doubtful he could pin down the Mongol whirlwind long enough to secure a decisive victory. Imagine it, Napoleon setting up a perfect artillery barrage, only to discover that his enemies had already packed up, circled around him, and were now using him for target practice. Genghis Khan rides to victory. And there you have it, the ultimate clash of titans, Genghis Khan riding into victory while Napoleon reloads his cannons in disbelief. If you enjoyed this epic historical showdown, make sure to smash that like and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay epic, and remember, in the battle of history, the best weapon is your imagination. See you next time.